Hi, I'm Neil Redfern and welcome to another video where I talk you through how I took one of my favourite photographs. In this video I'm going to show you how I took this shot and this one. These photographs were taken at Emma and Neil's wedding at Broadoaks Country House Hotel in the Lake District in the UK. At the front of the venue there is this large fountain. I've shot here before and used this fountain before, but this time I wanted to try and create something even better by using multiple speedlights and coloured gels, something which I haven't tried before. As with any creative portrait shot like this, I like to spend a few minutes playing around setting everything up and taking test shots before bringing the bride and groom outside. My aim is to have everything set up and ready so that when I do ask them to come out, I literally only need them for 2 or 3 minutes. For this setup I use a Nikon D810 camera, Nikon speedlights and Photic Strato triggers. These triggers are great and really reliable, but they don't allow me to use high-speed sync, so I wasn't able to shoot faster than 2/50th of a second. As you can see in this video, I started by placing my first speedlight, flash A, at 1/8 power behind the fountain to backlight the water. This worked quite well and let me see the potential of the shot, but the ambient light or the natural light was still a bit too much, so I had to wait longer for it to become darker outside before I could take the shot which I wanted. So, fast forward an hour and this was the result. You can no longer see the green of the bush in the background because the natural ambient light has dropped so much now. This is exactly what I wanted, as it meant for less distractions in the final image. Next, and with the settings exactly the same, I had a blue magmod gel to the flash to make the water droplets blue. I then experimented by adding a second flash, flash B, at 1/16 power to the right hand side to see what effect it would have if I pointed it at the fountain. I put magenta gel on this one. After a test shot though, I wasn't a big fan of the magenta, so I swapped it for another blue gel. Next, I added a third speedlight, flash C, with a red magmod gel attached on 1/4 power behind where I was going to ask the bride and groom to stand. I did this because at this stage my idea was to light the bride and groom with a red gel whilst lighting up the fountain and the water with blue gels to give a nice contrast in the colours. As I only wanted this flash to light up the couple and not the water, I also added a magmod grid onto the flash too, which would help to limit the spill of the light. At this point I felt I was happy enough with my test shots to ask the bride and groom to come outside. The first shot with the bride and groom didn't quite work out as I wanted, because the bride and groom were being front lit as well as backlit. I hadn't thought of this while taking my test shots, but the light from flash B on the right hand side was hitting the fountain and bouncing off onto the couple. So I ended up turning that one off and then just shot with 2 speed lights, the one behind the fountain and the one behind the couple. That setup gave me this. I've edited this shot, which you can see here, but I wasn't sure whether I actually liked the red colour on the couple, so I ended up taking off the red gel from flash C, the flash behind the couple, and just left the grid on this one. Once I did this I was really happy with the result, so I kept on shooting until I had a pose which I was happy with. I then swapped cameras and shot the same scene with my 35mm lens to get a different take on the same scene. Shooting the same scene on 2 different focal lengths like this is a good way of getting variety into your shots very quickly. Once I was happy with my shots on both the 85 and 35mm lenses, we were done and the bride and groom could return to their party. As I spent the time setting up the shot without the bride and groom being there, in total I only had them outside for 4 minutes. When editing the image in Lightroom, the first thing I do is apply my preset. After that I increase the clarity. For any shot where bokeh plays an important part like this one, I like to really increase the clarity, as that's when the shot really starts to come to life. I then edit the shot in 2 parts. Firstly, I concentrate on getting the exposure right for the bride and groom. I do this by using the radial filter to draw a circle around them. Now, everything I change will only affect the area within that circle. I then use the radial tool again and select a similar area, but this time I untick the invert mask box, meaning that everything I change now will affect everywhere except for the bride and groom. It always amazes me just how much detail there is in the shadow areas of an image. So although the raw file made it look as though the left hand side of this image was too dark, by increasing the shadows and pushing the clarity slider even more, you can see just how much detail there actually is in the file. I then use the graduated filter to bring back even more detail on the left hand side, whilst also changing the temperature too, so that the colours on the left hand side match better with the rest of the image. I then use the brush tool too, to increase the exposure and clarity of more specific areas which were in heavy shadow. One thing which I always try to do with my images is to make the subject, in this case the bride and groom, the brightest area of the image, because that's where our eye will be drawn, and that's what I've tried to do here. In this image there are a couple of areas which were a little too bright for my liking, so I used the radial filter again to bring back the highlights in these areas. Finally, using the brush tool again, I brought back the highlights on the bride and groom's hair, which I felt could have been a bit distracting. Doing things like this only takes a few seconds, but can make a big difference to the final shot. As you can see here, by using these simple editing techniques, the difference between the original RAW file and the edited version is huge, and it only took a couple of minutes to edit. So here they are, the final two images. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it to be useful. Please let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, or if this has inspired you to try something similar on your next shoot. Please also like and subscribe to stay updated of future videos like this one. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.